This begins a video for test section 404162. This is Oklahoma ID number 1601. We're in Comanche County, Oklahoma. We're on the western edge of the city of Lawton, Oklahoma. Okay, this is obviously the concrete pavement. This is selected for GPS 3 and for cell 3-101. Okay, this is in the dry, no-freeze environment. We're in the southwestern part of the state, obviously. We've got 9 inches of jointed plain concrete, no dowels, a paved shoulder, asphalt concrete base, fine subgrade, and this is selected for the low traffic cell. The view of the area. This was recently constructed. I believe it was opened in '84. I can double check that a little bit later on. This is another one of those that we reviewed in the office late last week prior to coming out here. This had not been previously submitted, but after discussion with the rural design engineer, we identified a number of projects which we felt might be available, and so we reviewed them there and wound up selecting about 6 or 7 of them. And we were especially able to add a good number of projects here in what is considered the dry region of the state. Okay, looking out, we are working in the eastbound lanes here of US Highway 62, and I am looking right now due north towards the Ouachita Mountains, which you see back there is on the Fort Sill military reservation. Working on down. The original pavement, which was the westbound lanes, had been in place for some time. This was what was built during the new construction here, the eastbound lanes, to widen it out to 4 lanes. So very similar, in fact, it's an identical pavement section to what we saw earlier this week up north of Muskogee on US 69, but we're in a different environment in a different part of the state, and we have somewhat different traffic conditions here. Okay, I'm looking down on the test section. You see we've got a slight upgrade. We're in a tangent section. Working all around, we've got right about at grade, and it's quite uniform throughout the length of the test section. You can see we're into the outskirts of the city. We've got some development over here on either side of us, but we're away from most intersections. We've got a crossover about 500 feet behind us or so, and we've got a section line road up beyond the end of the test section, but that doesn't really affect traffic characteristics very much, or at least those that we are interested in. 10 feet behind the beginning of the test section, and you see I initiated about 7 feet upstream from a transverse joint. These joints are, they're not staggered, they're 15-foot joint spacing, but they're skewed about approximately, they're skewed 2 feet per lane going across. For a new pavement like this, there's really not much to talk about in terms of distress details or anything like that. Nothing has really happened out here. I've observed so far no cracking, no joint seal damage. The joints here were sealed with a silicone sealant, and it is intact in most places, or in all places I should say. My finger down into that sealant, and still in very good shape, still very pliable. On Station 1, okay, we applied paint marks here, or we're doing that on all these test sections here in Oklahoma during this visit. They will be having some tape numerals being cut out in the near future, and what they'll probably wind up doing is coming by and placing those into the lane just underneath the crosshatch for the crosses that you see at each station here. I don't know if that's going to be necessary, because I think these numerals are going to stay here a while, particularly on a textured surface like this. Really not much to talk about as we go on. We've got a rather chilly day out here. It's about 50 degrees. Got a good breeze blowing, and we're starting to get a light. Well, it's not really a shower. We're getting a drop or two every so often. I'm going to stop and show something in the pavement surface that will be seen by the Pasco unit when it breezes by here. Station 2+85, you can see where we had an some of the aggregate popped out of the surface. Right there. It's right in the middle of the lane, or very close to the center of the lane. Something that you see not too infrequently on concrete pavements. Pulling up and moving forward. Lawton's a fair-sized city. The population at the entrance was shown to be around 85,000. Most of the economy is driven around here by ranching, wheat farming, and in this particular area, the military, along with the oil industry, which, as we all know, is pretty slow right now. Thing which will show up in the photographs that I need to point out right here is where a depth check was made on the project. You can see where a core was pulled out and then was patched with Portland cement concrete. That's around station 4+80, or roughly. I haven't measured it off. I'm just estimating based upon the joint spacing and the distance from the end of the test section. We should be able to track the information down for that core if there was any testing done aside from checking the depth. Now we're at the end of this test section. What you see up ahead is a section line which is called 72nd Street. There's a sign on up ahead there that you may be able to see. It's doubtful we'd be able to read it if I focused in on it. On around there's the same subdivision we saw before. See, we're right at grade, maybe slight cut, hard to say. On this side the ground is higher than it is over on the south than it is on the north. Without the cross sections it'd be impossible to tell whether or not we're in a cut or a fill or at grade within here. See another subdivision over to the northwest of where I'm standing. Then there's the Fort Sill Range, and then there's where some of the Poe folks live, back down over yonder. Earlier I hadn't picked up any distress or noted any through here. David had observed something out here that I need to show on the video. And we're roughly at station it's about 3+82 right here. And we have a very narrow corner break which is developed. In fact, it's hardly visible. It's not visible from the other side, and it is over in the lane that we're going to be monitoring, and so it has to be recorded as a distress. Looking on up in the inside lane in the slab just behind us, and then across into the passing lane there is a longitudinal crack which is developed. One wonders whether or not the joint actually broke here after it was sawed, or if it may have been sawed too